before we start, because who of you have been here for several days participating? Yes, okay, good. I would like to ask you, and I don't mind if the others join you, first to give an applause for those who organized this whole event. And secondly, about 10% of this for Boulot, who just got his bill yesterday. The debate consists of 3 rounds, and before we start those rounds, the director of our debate, Yvonne Heeselmans, would like to say a few words. And after that, Dutch MP Olof van Laar will also say a few words. But I pass the floor to you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I have actually 4 reasons why I asked Roland and Anna, who are actually the big the organizers behind this whole event. But I asked them for 4 reasons why I want to have 10 minutes of your time. The first reason is actually to welcome our honorable panel members and judge. So big applause that you are here. And of course, thank you very much. Really nice that you take the time to be here and also to listen to the young people. I really advise all of you, young or old, to participate in these kind of debate competitions, because then you need to talk and to debate in a structured way. So it was really beautiful. Out of that, 3 minutes are going to give their speeches at the end during the day. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Olof van Laar. This means that we're going to start with the 3 rounds of debate. Maybe there's one announcement. Aftv is amongst us. They will be featuring us. And in the backside, cartoonist Joshua City. He will make some very nice cartoons for us. It's a pleasure. Now, for the first one, I would like to invite Joan van Geel, because she will be the speaker. And I would also like to invite the 2 panel members, which is Mr. Olof van Laar and Mr. Stephanie Schulligers. We know you already. I guess you all sit on the podium. Just go together. Yeah. And we know you already are sitting with incredible speakers. First, give her an applause.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for introducing Greece. I've been doing research in Greece for 6 months among African migrants, and I was planning to refer to that as well. So thank you for the introduction. Yeah, one of the things that we have been talking about a lot these days was racial profiling, and what I would like to do during my speech is that I would like to give you some explanation about the things that we concluded. And I hope that I speak on behalf of the group. So racial profiling, that will be the topic that I will speak about today. And we think that it's very important that the government has a responsibility, and should acknowledge this as well, to prevent racial profiling as being a method used by the police. So that's what we will speak about. And I would actually like to start with an example from Greece. And I will quote someone that spoke there. Joan, you cannot imagine how humiliating it is, how it feels when someone stops you because of your appearance. It's so inhumane, this whole action, and the worst thing is that it is implemented by the government. This is a quote from Kayu. He is a Tanzanian migrant in Athens. He was living there for 17 years, and he was referring to Xeniozoos. That's an action implemented by the Greek government. And what they do is, what they practically do is racial profiling. So they stop and search. And in addition to this, they often... In addition to this, they often take the migrants into a bus to the police station. They're further researching and then release them after a couple of hours. So it's really restricting their days. And sometimes this is even accompanied by violence, committed by the police. And I'm quite aware that this is a rather extreme example, but I think that what is happening now in Greece, okay, there are other circumstances, it's quite extreme, but it really shows the face of racial profiling, what can happen if it escalates. And the scope of the actions that are now implemented in Greece, they clearly reveal the implications for individuals of racial profiling. And the indications were very clear to me. They were creating distrust, not only towards the police, but also towards the state. And it was eventually creating a lot of skepticism among African migrants about their possibilities in Greece, but also about what the government could eventually do for them. So it deepens the gap. And that's exactly what we have been speaking about as well amongst ourselves. So it's not long ago that I came back from Greece and I was convinced that this was absolutely not something that I would find in the Netherlands. But I was quite shocked when we were starting to speak about this subject and it appeared something that is happening in the Netherlands as well. Maybe it's not officially implemented by the government, but it appeared that it is dormant and that it exists as a practice by the police. We have seen videos of it and stuff like that. So maybe even the police is doing this unconsciously, but still it's creating the previously mentioned problems among the populations that are targeted. And again, I do not want to accuse the Dutch police of doing the same as the Greek police, but I think it's very important to mention this subject anyway. So, ethnic profiling is often presented as a prevention. We search the people in order to make society more safe and more secure. But we would like to turn it around. We think that it is increasing insecurity, not only because it's an itself-reinforcing argument. Of course, if you will search more black people, you will find more black people in jail. That's quite a logical thing. So it reinforces itself, and then it gives the native population, it confirms the stereotypes that might exist in the native population. But secondly, as well, it creates a sentiment of insecurity among those who are targeted, so ethnic minorities, for instance. They do not feel protected by the police. They are feeling skepticism amongst themselves, and again, it deepens the gap. So we really want this not to happen. That's our main conclusion. And therefore, I would like to make two suggestions, especially to the members of Parliament, of course, for your agenda of action. And we would like you to take that into consideration, of course. And the first thing is that we would like to demand for an in-depth investigation what exactly is happening in the Netherlands. So we got the impression that something is going on as well, maybe not as obvious as in Greece, but maybe exists in a more dormant or more concealed way in the Netherlands. So we would like to have an in-depth investigation, and not only among the police, of course, but we would like to see included in this investigation as well the people who are targeted. So how does it make them feel? And secondly, I think that's important as well, we would like you to ask if there would be a possibility to develop a training course for police officers. Not only to make them realize that they shouldn't do it, but why they shouldn't do it. So we would like to clarify them that there's much more damage done than it would prevent something. Yeah, and that's what we asked for. So I would really like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your talk, Ms. Bennett, and I was also interested to hear about your Greek experience and the experiences that you shared while being the MD of Aftv. Your proposals are very interesting. Concerning the second on making people aware of the implications as a police force, I think this is very interesting. I also know policy that's already existed here, so maybe it would be an interesting idea to combine also your proposals. But now I'm more into that there's already a learning community about diversity and how to deal with the diverse society of the Netherlands for the police. So it would be very interesting to see how it could match with your proposal.
Yeah, thank you for your speech. Before I was a member of parliament, I was a member of the city council of this city, the city of Leiden. We had a debate on how to do preventative searches, because the mayor said we need this instrument, we need to search the bags of the people who are going out. And we had a big debate on how to prevent racial profiling, and our council came up with a very simple solution, which is that if the police wants to do a search, they can do it, but they have to pick a number up front, and they can only pick for example, every fifth person going through the gate to search their bags, which is, I think, as far as I know, it's still working in the city of Leiden, and it works well, because it gives the police a very clear task to do, and they can do it. The problem of racial profiling is quite a big problem, especially if you look at the capital city. There are more and more police who are from ethnic minorities themselves. And basically they are saying, on the basis of their experience, I know who to search. And I know if I'm in this area and I see those people coming, I will search them. And that's a form of racial profiling which they feel is not very bad. And that's the problem, because it's an attitude change that needs to happen. Because they have to realize that it is a problem. Besides the Amnesty International report, there was also a documentary on television lately. And they sent in a group of white young people and a group of ethnic white young people in a neighborhood. They were just hanging around. They were not doing anything.
Yeah.
They were eating Chinese food, I think, something very random.
Yeah.
And the group, which had people with different ethnicities in it, was visited so many more times by the police than the other group was.
Yeah.
So it is happening, and it should stop. So thank you for your speech and your suggestions.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm not an expert on police force right now and the way they treat ethnic profiling, so this I'm sorry, but I know that in the general setting of participation and also to counter discrimination, participation is very much needed from the police force and from the rule of law, to really implement their policies in a good way, but also from you, the people themselves, all of us actually, to feedback also to the rule of law and the politicians to what's going on in society, really. If you're feeling discriminated, there's places you can go to, like the Discriminatiezaken, Article 1, and it's very important to report and to take responsibility also, so you can see what's going on. Every year there's a report on all the discrimination cases that are filed. Sitting here is very empowered and educated people to make a change if something's wrong. So, yeah.
Okay, to make it more concrete, do I hear the suggestion that people here, I mean the police should be trained, that's what you said, but that people also here, people like us, should be trained to become better observers of, say, negative ethnic profiling?
I would make it more concrete and say that if you feel you are the subject of ethnic profiling or discrimination in any way, report as soon as possible. Yeah, and there's regional places you can go to file, and then your case will be taken very seriously.
Can I ask an additional? What extent do you think the government is responsible in informing and encouraging people to actually report discrimination, for instance? My question derives from the fact that I noticed that many people who feel discriminated against, that they don't necessarily have the tendency to report it as well.
I just would like to ask the audience.
Just screened to be checked because I have black phenotype. So I reported at people and nothing happened. In fact, they say okay, it was just a routine checking, and that was it. Until now, I didn't get anything back from that. So it's my experience.
A friend of mine, he was from Slovakia, and they allow him just to get in, and then at the Brussels airport they say, okay, you have to show your passport, your papers, and so on. And I was like, why? And of course, I went through. There is some website where you can report to the government if you have been like discriminated and so on. And afterwards, there came a guy who asked me to explain the situation. And since then, I never get any reply, and I don't even know if there was an action taken about that.
So you are discouraged, in fact, to report on it. That's what you say.
I didn't report it because it was mainly when we go out during nights. I think every morning has that. I don't have to mention that. But it's not because it happened one time, but because it happened like over 10 times. Without lying, I can tell you. But it doesn't, even the police is there, they see it's happening, but at that moment they don't care about racism. The only thing they care is security at that moment. So they will tell you, go tomorrow to the police and report it there. I know many friends of mine who reported, but it's actually total bullshit. It doesn't look like that.
Talking about total bullshit, I have a question for you. Have you ever tried to have a normal conversation with a policeman?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Can you give an example?
At those moments, we went to the police and the only thing they said was, yeah.
Well, I'm not quite aware of the scientific background of everyone who participated in this course, but I'm sure that some of them would be able to conduct such a research. Absolutely. Yeah.
There are certain methodologies in which, people from the target group or whatever you want to call it, they're educated to become researchers.
Yes.
And would you like to include that in your proposal?
Of course.
Yeah, it's a nasty question because you never can say no.
No, but that's
Sorry.
Together with Open Society Foundation, we have done a pilot project in Gouda. It was second wave, and it came from the London experience. And in principle, for a year, the police and the young people worked together, but not in uniform and not in the police office, but in the hall or in the youth center where the young people feels comfortable. And for, I think, 10 sessions for a day, they learned actually to get rid of each other's stigmas, because it's both way. And this really became a very well researched, so I will send it to you. But my point is, it would be good, because many other of such projects are now coming up. I heard it from Amnesty International also. And I think it would be good if they're from out of the ministry, or that you maybe ask questions, whether best practices could be developed and also upscaled to good trainings at the police academy. Because already at the ground in civil society things are going on, but it's not yet seen maybe by policy. But I was also asking, are you aware of these kinds of best practices? And in case yes, how are you going to upskill them and also use them in the training of the police?
For people to invite them to report discrimination. As far as I know, not with the police, but if you go to a discrimination point, you can do your report anonymously, and they will take it into consideration even if you do it anonymously.
Yes.
So those things are in place, and we're trying to get them out there. The government can only do so much, I would say. So I don't know if that's necessary, but I do think your suggestion to do research is very good, and if it would be research done by the target groups themselves, so they report the data, they report their experiences, for example, via an app, anonymously, very easily, and then you put together a large amount of data in a short amount of time. So that would be something we could do.
Is that we have now seen willingness of important people that are in the place to do something, to change something about this, and we have heard that there are already a lot of initiatives. So that's, I think, for us, will be very convenient to hear. And I think that for me personally, nothing new came up during the discussion. So I just would like to thank the audience for attention.
Okay. Thank you.
I wish I was that good. When I was your age, no, the first time I remember speaking in a microphone and my hand was trembling and I said, okay, leave it. I don't want to make a point anymore. That was my first comment ever in a microphone. So I don't know how many times you did it before, but you sound like a professional, so I was
Well, I've learned it during the debates here, so.
Wow.
Says something about training.
Yes. Well, I hear debate. So I would say very good. Well done. And to the audience, there were some comments made in the end, for example, about education. I think in Holland everybody knows discrimination is wrong. So we can educate people more, but they will just know that it's wrong, and they will still know. The problem is experience. People don't have many positive experiences when it comes to people from other ethnicities. And most people just are French, early Dutch people, white people. And that's the basics of it. So that's the thing we have to solve. Maybe one final comment on politics, because you might get the impression that it's very easy to solve things in politics. But discrimination is a very contentious issue nowadays in Dutch politics, because as soon as the word is raised, there is especially one party, the populist party, who will seize the opportunity and make it worse, basically. So sometimes we choose not to raise things, at least they are made worse by the populist party. So this is something you have to be aware of. A month ago there was a report by the Council of Europe on racism and discrimination in Holland. And most parties decided to pass on it and not to comment on it, even though it was a very serious report and we should take it seriously. Just not to give them a platform again to say what things they have to say.
Good job. And I also like that you said, like, you counter-argued already what could be the criticism, like, isn't our society more secure if we do racial profiling? So I like that you also thought for the other end, countered that. And in your suggestions, I really liked what I proposed, that you also take into account the power and potential of people themselves more. So the potential of people themselves to raise the issue, rather than only looking at politics, which is very contentious, this issue, or the government, but seeing together as a group of people what you can do to raise the issue, rather than besides raising the issue here. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to see what you together raise.
Now to Lisa. Give her an applause. She will take the floor. We have two panel members. Yinka Akinyawade. He's from the Africa Studies Center. He's sitting here.
First of all, I'd like to give you a small example of myself. When I came, after a week, I just turned 18, and there's a very nice system the Dutch have. It's called the ISK, the ISK. It's mostly for youth that have a high school background that come here and get integrated. But that was a problem for me because I was 18 but still in high school. In the Dutch system, the age is different, like from Africa or other countries. Here you go a step higher, like my sister, she's 8 and she's already in grade 5, whereas in Africa someone of 8 years would be like in grade 1 or something. So when they come here, it's good that the Dutch weighs your certificate but also doesn't take your age that much into consideration. So these people are actually discouraged from working and go mostly to lower jobs to get money, and instead of pursuing education, which is actually a very, very important thing in their stay here. And so I think what I would say would be a very good proposition would be to find a better way of validating the certificates and taking their age into account. Going to my second point is about internship. I talk about internship because not only me but my friends from Tilburg and many other places have the same problem. The main problem is finding an internship has become really hard because you mostly have to get networking. It doesn't just happen like calling companies and saying, hey, can I just come and work for you? And mostly for migrants, African migrants, they have a problem because they don't have that much network here, and the school doesn't help them that much. And these people without internship, they can't get their certificate. And what does this lead to? It leads to school dropouts. And school dropouts, we all know, don't contribute to our society. They become a burden to the Dutch government. they get into social welfare, what we know as the outcaring. But actually, if we lower this number by finding alternatives like school dropouts, finding a way to validate their certificate, or in my case, like migrants like me, I don't have a dad or a mom who has good network, so I have to go the hard way to find internship by helping me or other migrants like me to contribute a lot to our education system. Talking about that, these people, mostly dropouts, end up being idle or jobless and isolated mostly. And when they're isolated, what does it result to? We all know crime, violence. Isolated people have a lot of anger, a lot of revenge in themselves. They hate the system, and hating the system becomes, you become automatically what? Against the system. So I think it's a very crucial issue. And most internships, I would say, are also, you don't get any compensation. You work for free for 5-6 months. I mean, how are students supposed to work for 5-6 months without having any money? These are mostly people like me. I have a part-time job, but if I go into internship, I have to leave my part-time job, work for free for about 5-6 months, and if I live alone, how can I pay for my food? How can I pay for my rent? How can I pay for so many things? It's going to be really, really tough. This will cause me to lend money, and if I become a dropout, it becomes a very huge debt on myself. And for people who live, you say people live with their parents, they have a problem, but mostly migrants have lower income, so these students can actually sometimes be a source of income to the family, and if they leave that and go into internship, it becomes a very big problem. And this is a very big issue because I read it on the magazine and it has appeared so many times on the newspapers. And for this, I think I have a very good proposition, but it might sound a bit biased, but I think it would be good if the Dutch government imposed a quota or a law that makes companies give some sort of compensation to all people who follow internships in their companies. It doesn't have to be a large amount of money or anything, but some kind of compensation. Because when I go to my third last point, that is about student financiering, when it stops, it becomes even a very big problem actually traveling to the internship place, because you have no way, that is the card that you use to get free public transport. And as I said, when this study finance stops, it becomes a very big problem. Especially, as I said, for migrants or for students with a part-time job, with no job and with no car to travel, you become stranded. And most students don't live in the city that they study. Like in my example, I live in Amersfoort and I go to school in Utrecht. So if I have no way, it becomes a problem, and which will actually become an obstacle to my study. And again, I say that it will lead to dropping out. So what I would like to say is, I think that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can better deal with the issue of having other ways of dealing with certificate validation of migrants, especially high school students who come with no validated diploma of the high schools. Because mostly what happens in camps, in example of migrant refugees, they're just led into learning the language once a week, and that is really not sufficient to continue with their study. So giving again an example of myself, I could not go to school, so I just had to stay in the camp and only learn the language once in a week until I was waiting to get a house, and after which I got again, I had to follow only language courses. And I think Nika, who is from the diaspora from the development, I think can also help look for validations, because I think this organization has connections with other diaspora youth from different places who have different certificates, and I think getting ideas from these people can have a better system. And I thank you all for your participation.
On the other hand, you have some very, I think, interesting propositions to the employers society, in the sense that what's in it for us in order to have these internships. And you also address the certification, in the sense that it's okay if you have the certificate, but what will I buy with it? What type of entrance will I have for my future? And lastly, you are directly and indirectly aiming at the government in the sense that part of the solution has to come from government, which is a very old-fashioned way to treat government. As you know, in the Dutch politics, the actual policy is that we are living in a participatory society and the government is retreating and it's good citizens and have to come up with their own solution. This is the broad aim of the government, which isn't much helpful for your case. But nevertheless, I would like to respond to two issues. Don't underestimate the initiatives that you're taking and the experiences you're building right now. You aim that you have a job apart from your study, which is necessary to finance your study. And I think value that job and try to get out of it as much as possible. In that sense, you as a representative of African society, of the diaspora, are not different than most of your colleagues, co-students, who need to have a job in order to survive and aim for the future. So don't try to make the best of it and try to network as much as possible. That is one of the avenues. In the second place, your proposition is valid. I think employers are being triggered by our Dutch Ministry of Education. Unfortunately, working for the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there is little we can do to aim at your specific fate, because we are aiming with our policy in most of the regions outside of the Netherlands, which we are trying to influence and support the youth. But we are in discussion as a government, because this is not, the Dutch government is very aware about the youth bulge and the risks which you referred to. And I think one of the latest propositions of our colleague, of our Ministry of Education, Mrs. Dusselmark, is that she's actually proposing Dutch education institutes to be responsible for the internships of the students. You see, there's little that our institutes can do for us to facilitate ourselves. There is a proposal, a law proposal, which is actually being discussed as if to enhance or give a major mandate to education institutes, which is also a part of the solution, because it is the dialogue between the education providers, the actors like yourself, and the employment, which have to come up with aiming at reaching these type of solutions. So I think your proposal is interesting, and these are the comments I would like to refer to. Thank you.
To say what, having listened to him right now, I want to continue from where he said you should not limit what you have in you right now. One of the things, one of the opportunities, I work with the African Studies Center. One of the opportunities we offer for internship is for prospective interns to just turn in the application. Send us your CV, tell us what you want to do, what you can do. Then whoever is interested among the member of staff can take up the intern. But that is at the postgraduate level, and it is a bit sort of limited right now to the pool of prospective interns that are out there. So, but the opportunity is there, and it's one of the things which you could explore. I like your presentation or your way of presentation in a particular style, that you identified 3 problems, and you identified a band of youths that are likely to be affected by these problems. You said age 18 to 23. Then you went ahead to say, yeah, if there's problems about validation of certificates, about financing, about internships, then there will be issues of difficulties arising from dropouts, and to being idle, being jobless, people who hate the system, which will further into our previous point, profile. That's the last one which you even add to some of these problems which you raised. So it's, we will still go ahead with some of the points you raised. However, I will still not want you to limit yourself by telling us, saying, well, whatever proposition you you are making may be partial because it's coming from you. No. Tell us a proposition. Don't limit yourself. Leave it to the government or to the academics to sort it out. Say it.
A living example is that we are living here as African youth. I'm African youth. I'm studying law at the University of Amsterdam, and I'm doing a part-time job. And this Chris said, yes, this part-time job you can use it, but I'm a cleaner. I can do nothing with those part-time jobs. There's no network coming from that part-time job. But I want to do an internship. But when I do an internship, I don't get money to pay my rent, to pay the bills, to do all things. It's really a problem. So when those internships are paid, there is a chance for me to do that instead of going to look for a job that will not, well, where I will not benefit for all. So it's really a problem, and I really want you to think with a better solution instead of saying, no, it's okay, it's not okay.
There was a point about the lady said that, what about jobs? Jobs don't help. No, jobs don't give.
So when I came in contact with the. So when I came into contact with the UIF, that is a sort of organization that finances or helps students, mostly refugee students, to continue their studies. And I was privileged with an application to be accepted, so they're actually currently paying for my study here and everything, but that's 1 in a million. There are lots of other people who also can't get this chance due to certificate validation problems, because I was from high school and I did not have a diploma, but through a test I was able to be accepted by them. And mostly they accept people with higher education. But as I gave the example of students between 18 and 23, these can be students who are in high school in Africa, for example, but when they come here, it becomes difficult. They mostly go for something actually low below the level where they are able to achieve something higher in return.
You spoke about don't having your certificate. While of course people build competences, but it needs to be validated. It can be validated by yourself, but is it recognized by the labor markets? So talking about dropouts, they still have their competences, but who is validating that, and is that recognized by the labor market? And I was wondering, you oversee many countries and education programs, and especially in certain countries there are a lot of dropouts, street children, and do you have any example or of a policy or program in which they are already validating competences while it is not yet an official exam? But at least that those kids or those children or young people can go to the labor market and can show an alternative exam, or at least validation of their competences.
In most developing countries, and referring myself specifically now to Africa, in most African countries, there are policies being developed or policies implemented which direct themselves to job certification and also to qualification frameworks. The problem is that in spite of the policies which look fabulously and can compare international standards, it is a rather traditional way in which they are implemented. They start at the tertiary level, higher education. What are the necessary certifications necessary for jobs to be gained, to be developed when you have studied in university or
quite impressive. I really appreciate the way, maybe from my own perspective, as an academic, we always like it when the student narrows down until you narrow down until you can no longer narrow. Now you're able to narrow the problem. You identify 3 crucial areas. You identified the age band, because it's not easy defining the youth. Some say 15 to 24, 18 to 23, 13 to 26, but you gave us also a band for which particular problems do occur. So in that way, I really enjoyed your presentation. As for the debate, it's stand up. Yes, this will continue, I'm sure, after the year. And I'm willing to still to continue to give my input on a constructive basis on how the problems that have been raised can be solved.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris.
I agree. You were tempted to propose theses which are so abstract that we get lost after 2 minutes. I think you were very specific. That also had a repercussion that the debate was very specific, context specific. It was the debate was very tangible. I think that was very good. You also succeeded in depicting the state of a migrant student in the Netherlands with perspectives, with all the challenges. I think that was also a very realistic perspective. In that sense, you were able to perceive that in an intelligent way. And I think the arguments you proposed were quite convincing. In a sense, you said you can hear the debate we were having is unfortunately due to time limited, but it could have continued for a long period. So compliments.
Thank you, Chris.
Hello everybody, my name is Niki Svita. I'm here at a debate organized by IDEA. I'm the next speaker. I'm going to talk about employment and the obstacles African youth are meeting when they want to get a job in Europe, in the Netherlands. We had like 3 days of debating training when we learned to debate, to communicate, how to stand, how to present ourselves, and it really was really good because I never debated before, so I really felt confident to stand here and to talk about very important issues. Everybody started, I think, Friday, but I started Sunday. A friend of mine, Yannick, called me and said, Nikki, you really have to participate. It's really wonderful. And they're really talking about important topics for African here in the Netherlands and Africa in Europe. I want to thank Anna, Roland, Veronica, and all the others who learned us really to debate and improve our communication skills. Before I came here, I didn't do any debating at all, and now I'm standing at the stage, so it shows really, like Joanne said, it shows really the excellent training, how excellent the trainers were. And I want to thank everybody who accepted the invitation for the people from the government, but also other NGOs in the Netherlands. You're really showing that this topic also is very important for you too, and you really want to come together to see which solution we can create, we can come up. So there will be an improvement of the inclusion of African youth. I'm going to talk about employment of African youth. In the reader we had a lot of background information, and reading it I was really not discouraged, but I was really I felt really wow, is it really that bad? When I see I see the numbers, I see in a time of economic crisis where the youth unemployment is already that high, but the African youth unemployment is much higher. So it makes you think, why is the difference so big between those two groups? Why do migrant youth have more difficulties securing a job than non-migrant peers? And in a group debating, we found two reasons why this could be the problem. That is, one is discrimination, and the other because of the view of companies towards African youth. First, I want to talk about discrimination. In my previous, not attack, but point that I made, I felt like I was attacking the it wasn't attacking, it was just showing the reality we African youth have to face every day. I have an example of a friend of mine who applied for a job 3 months ago with a good grades. She did internships, everything, but she got a letter back when they say thank you for your application, but you're not the right candidate, and we wish you really great good luck to your further search for a job. And she was discouraged. She said, wow, I really wanted the job. I really wanted to work for that company because I felt this is the place I want to develop myself as a human being. We said, oh, no problem, you can look for another job. It happens all the time. In this time, to get a job for a white, black, it's the same. You don't get a job. But she was feeling like, no, wait a minute. It doesn't feel right. So she sent another application with the same CV, same motivation letter, but with a different name. She used a Dutch name this time. And you will see she got a reply. The reply was, thank you for your application. We want to invite you to see if this is really the place that if we want to invite you to talk about us and to really meet you and to get to know each other. So this shows the part that I'm facing, that we are facing as African youth. So it's not about we are not qualified enough. It's not about we don't want to go to school. We go to school. We work very hard. But in the end, when you just apply and they see your name, it's like, not today. Maybe in the future. Maybe when the economics will be better. Economics crisis will be over. And that's not fair. It's really morally wrong, I think. That's why I want to start about the discrimination part. Another part is the view of companies towards Africans. The view of companies, it's really negatively. But this doesn't have to be like that. I want to say employers, we embrace the challenges of ethnically diverse workforce, will really reap the benefits with lower staff turnover, direct financial rewards. And there is a certain knowledge, a certain know-how, a certain expertise that we African youth, we can really contribute at Dutch companies, European companies, like the previous speaker talked about being a bridge with Africa and Europe. There is a place for us, but we have to get the opportunity to start working there. So those are the two topics I want to discuss and I want to give to you. For me, they are really relevant because, like I said, I'm still at school, and when I finish my school, I hope to get a good job when I can develop myself. And during the break, somebody told me, yeah, the cleaning is really fine, and when they say you can have a network, but when you clean, everybody's gone. So no network is really there. So that's, I would like to end with a quote that I composed myself. I'm not from a rich continent of poor people. We lost our ground, then our freedom and our peace in the name of civilization. But we did not lose our strength, nor our voice, and neither our minds. Our perseverance is more precious than gold, diamonds, or coltan. Thank you very much.
One additional question. Do you have concrete proposals?
Exactly, I forgot the concrete proposal. I have two of them. In Belgium, the government has done a research on discrimination with companies, and I would like the Dutch government to do the same thing here, to really see where the cases are and how we can effectively attack those cases of discrimination. I heard in the previous, when we talk about security, that people make complaints, but it gets lost. That's not what we want. When people make complaints that something will happen to it, that you can use them. So instead of complaints, I think a research implemented from the government will have a more effect on the problem about discrimination. And another idea is to really force companies that they have quotas to accept African youth. So they're faced that the African youth can really attribute something in their companies, because now they're not accepting us. So when they are forced from the government, and I think the government can do this because we call it positive discrimination, and we do it with women, so more women can also be put in the workplace. So why not with African youth? That's are my ideas.
Thank you very much.
Not very good at this, kid. Your proposals. Can I ask you a question first? Is that okay? Okay. Before I start responding to your proposal, I want to know, what are you doing, what are you planning on doing to change the perception of African youth to the governments and to the companies, etc.? What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm standing here telling what the problem is. I think and besides that, I study very hard, and I go to conferences like this to get in contact with other African youth, to get in contact with policymakers, to make them understand that the problems are real, but the solutions are not coming.
Is that an answer to your question?
Yes and no. Are you guys okay if I continue?
Yeah.
As a young African young woman, I think yes, it's important to attend conferences and to go to lectures and to meet people. But like I said earlier with regards to a theme, there is power in numbers. So what are you doing to gather the voices of other young people to show them, look, we are young Africans, we live here, we know how to work. What are you doing is wrong, this is how we should work. What are you doing about that? Or be creative. In this day and age, there's a lot of discrimination. I agree, it's horrible and it's affecting everybody. But you have to be twice as good to get how you need to be, right? So what are you doing that extra hard to show that you are that much better, but that you deserve the job? You know, so to me, there's a lot of, we have to work hard, And that means activities, learning how to, even doing formal classes on networking with each other, or exchanging contacts and peer-to-peer education with each other. That's what I mean with.
Okay, kaartjes, visitekaartjes van I think a lot of important people here, business cards. So I really go and meet those people and talk about those problems. And when you say that my goal is later work in Africa as a lawyer, and what I'm doing for that, I have my own organization. It's more a group called PING. It's more focused on the problematic in the Congo, and what I am organizing is more on debates on Congo. So I'm really doing something, and I would like to invite everybody. It's going to be a great debate, and we can understand what are the underlying causes and why this conflict is taking so long. So it really depends on where you want to go. I want to go to Africa, so I'm focused on Africa. I'm focused to meet Africans. So yeah, I'm doing something. And besides that, I really help also other African youth who are not that many long here in Netherlands with Dutch classes and those kind of stuff. So once again, I'm doing something.
Regards to your proposals, I agree there has to be research done. I think the government would have been better placed to give a response to this matter. But from the DFD point of view, I think we would support such initiative to find out how does discrimination affect the young people, where does it go wrong, what do you need to change, what do you need to bring to the table to start the conversation, etc. So I think it's a good proposal.
Christophe, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I received pleasure, especially when you mentioned the example of being clean after work. Because I had experiences myself. On your proposal, starting first from your proposal, yes, you mentioned quotas. But the point is, when you take Africa as a continent, and then assuming we have about, let's say, 2 million African unemployed, and then we have 4 million European unemployed. When we talk about quota, how is this quota system going to work? Do you have an idea how this quota system is going to work? And who is going to ensure that the quota system works? Because this is not the first time I've been hearing this word quota, so who is going to make sure that that system works? Coming back to research, well, I guess, if I'm not wrong, there should be a lot of research papers on this topic lying somewhere, so it's about implementation. So perhaps we could reverse it and say, what about all those research papers lying at Africa Study Center or wherever, with debates or with Amnesty? So let's go and look for them, and then see if we can start implementing them. I guess if we start implementing these things since 1960, we wouldn't have been sitting here debating this. So that's one of the things that I would like to add. Well, coming from the human rights corner, someone mentioned earlier on the issue of age. In fact, I'm looking for any researcher or student to join my organization now on this issue. I want someone to help me research on age discrimination. Because it is really becoming a very serious issue. Why? Because you realize, for example, when they need people to be employed for the army to be sent to Afghanistan, then all of a sudden, people of 16 age are allowed to apply. When it comes to drinking beer, then they say you have to be 18. When it comes to buying bread, they say you should be 24. So, again, there is some sort of discrepancy going on. So, and that, again, as mentioned by someone, when I came, I told the people that I want to start learning Dutch with the class 1 children. That's where I want to start learning Dutch. They said, no, you are too old. You have to learn it. You have a special class for foreigners, so that's why you should go and learn your Dutch. I said, no, I want to start from class. Where the class 1 children are, that's why I want to start learning it. No, you don't get the subsidy to learn the language. See, so there are people facing situations like this. Well, I think I will leave it for now.
To get more women in companies, and those quotas are not being set aside when there is economic crisis, so why set aside quotas of African youth? Yeah.
Thank you, Mukesh, for a very powerful presentation in the first place, and for trying to convince us so passionately. Thank you for that. On the concrete proposals, I would say they sound very sensible. And that's maybe also part of the problem and the question I have, because they sound so sensible. Research and quota. In 2 words, it seems as if we can have a solution to a huge historical depth problem, and then it's research and quota. So, of course, I formulate it a bit teasingly, because we are in a debate. So coming from university, I would say, yes, research is always good, and more research is always better, and still more research is the best. At the same time, there is indeed, as Christophe also alluded to, there's now a lot of research on discrimination. And if I would go among the people here in the audience, I'm sure that no matter that we call it anecdotal, that there would be endless number
action plan. So I think there is a need of research in the Netherlands to see maybe the problem here is a little bit different than in other European countries. Just, when I say research, I really mean research in the Netherlands. I really like to use those features.
I don't think we can come to an action plan without research.
Sorry?
You really think we can't come to formulate any actions without further research?
I think research are very important, like tackling discrimination, tackling racism, tackling things like you really need to find, to see first what is the problem and who are facing this problem before you go create action plans, because in the end you will have action plans one not connected with the real problems, and we don't want that. That's why I think we should.
Actually, the point that Jos raised was a very interesting one, and especially if you talk about South Africa, the quota system has been in operation ever since '94, and it has been with very many mixed results. It's not to say that it did not work, but to say that it has presented South Africa with a solution to the problem is also not the case. So although I realize that in a presentation of 10 minutes you can't elaborate on an issue like that, but it would have been more powerful probably if you would have given a bit of context to that solution of the quota system.
I was just wondering if we could put a little bit twist on the quota system, so that instead of trying to force the companies to take a certain percentage of minorities, then we encourage them that if they take so many, then they get some kind of benefit from whether from the government or some kind of subsidy or something. So we make a twist on it to encourage them, instead of twisting their arms, to encourage them so that if you take these kind of people so much, then you get something back, apart from the fact that, of course, they also produce a lot. And the fact is, when a company has got a diverse brain, then there are also many ways of solving problems, and it's also much better. So let's kind of encourage the companies to. That's my approach. That would be my approach. Thank you.
To show the benefits. So here.
I have one comment for your comment, Nikki. You said there was there research necessary, and you followed up with there are places where quotas have been tried but didn't work. That's a perfect example of where maybe more research is necessary to see why it didn't work, if it did, why, and why it's really specific to the region or the time that the actions have to be formulated. And my question to you is, did your friend get the job?
Yes, when we were speaking through the program the past weekends and the past few days as well, I heard that one of the main obstacles for young Africans to get access to employment and higher education for that matter is negative stereotyping, because all most employers know about Africa is that people are poor and uneducated. And I feel that the constant underestimates of capacities that young African people have is one of the main problems for access to employment and education. And I was wondering how you, Nikish, or the panel members as well would suggest to tackle this problem.
I think how we look to African youth. I think it starts with yourself. It starts how you see yourself and how do you position yourself. And we African youth, we have to work on that. And I think there's a lot of African youth who are working on that. But I think it's also the work of the government, work of companies and universities and media to change the image, because like I say a quote, I'm not from a poor continent of rich people. No, when you go to Africa, you will see a lot of wonderful things there. So it's just not true. Like I said, when we embrace the diversity in companies, we will see that how much African can contribute in companies. So it's really true with viewer and chair.
Thank you for giving me the place. We are talking about employment, and then we are talking about the siege, and we are talking about quota. I would like to ask, what is a real action when we are talking about the quota? Because I would like to go in a company with my capacity, and not because we have quota. And then I have two examples. When I went to one outside bureau, and they want someone who speak Dutch, English, and French, and I said, oh, this is mine. Yeah. And when I go there, they said to me, no, you have to speak French without accents. And I said to this woman, we have first to speak French together. She didn't speak French. So it was very difficult, because she don't know if I would speak French with accent or not. It was just a way to say, we don't want to. And then I have three experience. When I went to other outside bureau, I found the job there, and they say, no, you want this job, this is good, but there are Dutch people who want this way, and we will give it to Dutch people. So it was a good matter to say to me, we don't want you. So I'm facing this every time. So, and then I have to find my consultants who say, if you stay unemployed, so you don't want to be integrated. Yeah. If you stay unemployed, you don't want to be integrated, and so I will be punished after. When we take all this combination of things, what is an advice you could give to me when you say about research, when you say about quota, and I want to go in a society with my own capacity, with my own capabilities?
What's your advice? You understand the argument?
Yeah, I understand the argument. We say short-term measures and long-term measures.
I think we should give him an applause, because it's a very that he wants to be accepted.
It was a pity that the punchline, which was so beautiful, that all of a sudden we realized, oh, where are my concrete proposals? Because it was a great punchline. If not, concrete proposals still had to come. I think your personal example in your first point was very strong. Therefore, maybe my expectations for your second were raised a bit too high, and there was not that kind of powerful personal experience kind of example. And therefore, I thought they were a bit uneven, while the first one was really very good. So thank you very much, and have a great future.
Thank you very much in English. Well, I think I like the way you structured the argument, and I like a lot also the way you, because you were so persistent. Everyone was saying research is common, but you were so persistent, you said research is good. So I like that aspect of the persistency. And then, and what it means is that when it's a hungry man, it's an angry man. So when it's 50%, when they get hungry and they get angry, they create more problems for the police. The state cannot submit. There's more discrimination. There is more fight. Who else knows? But anyway, so that's
okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the third round. Thank you, Heidi Wells.
Enjoyed it, especially the last debate. I enjoyed a lot, having graduated on affirmative action in South Africa. I enjoyed seeing all the various sides of the arguments about quota and affirmative action come by. But today wasn't only about these debates. It was about having young people taking matters into their own hands. And what I have seen from last Friday when we started and the people came in, They were a bit shy, they were reluctant to speak in front of an audience, and I've seen an incredible commitment from themselves to develop their skills and to improve their own situation. So I have seen a huge improvement in this. They have become more comfortable, more articulate, and more willing to advocate for their own causes. So I think that's a great lesson that they have taken with this for themselves from this weekend and the competition we have today. Now, lastly, of course, with a competition, there are prizes to be awarded. So what will happen now is that the panel members will deliberate who of the three speakers we just heard did their best in terms of advocating their project and in terms of debating in general. So with that being said, the prizes afterwards will be awarded at the reception at the same place where we had the coffee and the lunch.
Abdul Kadir Mohamed. Nikish Vitan. Just try. Ifeanyi Uzoma. Great.
Nahom Isaac.
Mike Morris Wamba.
He's not here.
Myolin Bomhoff. Also not here.
Meseret Baldi. Maud van Merrienboer.
I guess that's all.
Yeah, I think so. You read them all? Yeah.
I hope we haven't missed anyone, otherwise shame on us. We will provide you in any case if we have not had your year with your certificate, but in that case, very much sorry. I hope you all enjoyed it. This is officially the end of the public part of this project, and we hope to stay in contact with all of you. We will share the pictures and the videos that are being made, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you all very much.
Okay, and lots of success, huh?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, hi, it's me again, Nikishita from Angola. I won. I won the debate on inclusion of African youth. It's really wonderful. I didn't expect it at all because it was like my first debate tournament and also the first time I really debated with other people. So it really shows the communication skills we learn from our trainers, and I think ID did a good work to allow African youth to come together and to do this. And yeah, thank you for the judges who vote for me, and hopefully to see you next time again.
That's good. I meant everything is I meant.
No, not like that.
The topic is quite relevant in a sense. In what way are African youth to be included in the dreams and perspectives they achieve for reaching a job and to making max of their education being offered here in the Netherlands? I think that is a very relevant question, which is not exclusively for African youth, but for all youth in the Netherlands. But I think the issue is good that the position of migrant youth, African youth, is being specified in the Netherlands and what the challenges are they are facing. So in that sense, I followed two debate rounds, and I think in both rounds there are some very challenging and inspiring theses being proposed, and the debate is quite heated and isn't over yet, but I think there are a lot of arguments which are included, which could be used in order to give some more confidence and instruments for the youth here in the Netherlands?
One of the beauty of the program here is that it offers an opportunity for African students and also all other students to share ideas about special problems which African students are facing. It is important in the real sense that many of the problems we talk about, whether from education, whether about security, whether about financing, we talk about it so much in our homes, we talk about it so much among our friends, we do not talk about it in a systematic way to gather information in a way to present and look for solutions to these problems.
On a relevant theme, of course, the inclusion of African youth in Europe, but at the same time also important for the competitive element of the debate. And if I look at what has been presented so far, then our hopes for the future can be certainly with this particular generation of debaters, because the confidence with which they stand on the platform and make their point is impressive to note.
So debate is actually a crucial tool to communicate and to participate in democracy. What we see last years is that in the Netherlands especially, but also in Europe, African young people are excluded. But they don't know where the avenues are to bring their message across. So with this program, African Inclusion of Youth in Europe, we want to train the young people who actually have the brains and the knowledge and the academic skills, but who lack at least a little bit the tools to debate about it, debate about what they know and what their opinions are. So what we have done, we have recruited about 35 young, brilliant African people, either from university or just people who are unemployed, and for 3 days they got a training in the Rode Hoed in Amsterdam, and we trained them mainly on how can you structure your speech, how can you build up your argument, but also what is very important, how can you listen to each other in order to counter-argue about what the other said and to come to a higher level with the debate. So this is the training we gave them, and today we are together to have a policy debate with some of the politicians and the policymakers and experts. And we have asked the whole audience to see whether we can come up with an agenda for action, because we believe that the debate is a policy debate, and it's actually also a tool for advocacy if you develop an agenda for action as a result of the debate. So that's also why I in the beginning announced that today, at the Day of the Right of the Child, which is actually today, the 20th of November, we kick off the campaign, Inclusion of African Young People in Europe. And this campaign will be driven by the young people who we have trained and their peers and friends, and will be based on the agenda which will develop today. So it's a working policy debate today, and so far they have talked about security, about education, and we are now waiting for the debate about employment. So we are really looking forward for the agenda, but especially also for the commitment of those who have influence in whatever sphere to commit to join this advocacy, driven by young people who really experience exclusion or who saw it or heard it from their friends or peers. So thank you very much.